Dear viewers, welcome to a new episode of Names from the Past. The individual we are featuring today is one of the prominent figures who have significantly influenced the history of Arab civilization in particular, as well as global civilization in general. Ibn Khaldun was a distinguished Arab intellectual, a polymath, and a pioneering figure in various sciences and arts.
It's amazing how such a well-known scholar kept his life well documented, be it in his autobiography known as التعارف بابن خلدون, or in other words, Getting to Know Ibn Khaldun, which was originally appended to the end of Kitab al-Ibar, one of his most famous works. What stroked my attention the most was his dedication to his father, who had become an administrator and soldier, but soon abandoned his career to devote himself to the study of theology, law, and letters, all of which influenced Ibn Khaldun. In his own words, he was outstanding in his knowledge of Arabic and had an understanding of poetry in its different forms. And I can well remember how the men of letters sought his opinions in matters of and submitted their works to him. However, in 1349, the Black Death struck Tunisia and took away both his mother and father. It was a form of adversity which empowered him to leave a legacy that we all know and love. In fact, he is considered one of the most influential thinkers of the Islamic Golden Age, with contributions in the fields of history, sociology, economics, demography, philosophy, and historiography. Keep in mind that this all happened during the Middle Ages across Northern Africa and its neighboring parts of Europe, expanding towards great Islamic nations and empires.
whose full name is Abu Zayd Abdurrahman ibn Muhammad ibn Khaldun al-Hadrami, was born in Tunisia and raised in an educated household. He memorized the Quran at an early age, and his father was his first teacher. He also studied at the hands of the famous scholars of his time. He studied reciting, the sciences of interpretation, hadith, jurisprudence, principles, and monotheism. He also studied the linguistic sciences of grammar, morphology, rhetoric, and literature. He also studied the sciences of logic, philosophy, naturalism, and mathematics. And in all those fields, he had exemplary admiration from his professors and mentors. Among the most prominent of these professors and mentors were Muhammad ibn Abd al-Muhaymin al-Hadrami, Muhammad ibn Sa'd ibn Maral al-Ansari, Muhammad ibn al-Shawashi al-Zarzali, Muhammad ibn al-Arabi al-Hasiri, Ahmad ibn al-Qassar, Muhammad ibn Jabir al-Qaysi, and others.
He is considered the founder of sociology, a reformer of historical studies, a pioneer in the art of autobiography, and a scholar in hadith, educational studies, educational psychology, and teaching. The plague had a significant impact on Ibn Khaldun's life. This disease has spread to most parts of the world, east and west. It took the lives of his parents and many of his teachers in Tunis.
Not only did Ibn Khaldun plant the germinating seeds of classical economics, whether in production, supply, or cost, but he also pioneered in consumption, demand, and utility, the cornerstones of modern economic theory, which is in fact the motto of one of the most prominent universities in our modern world, Georgetown University in the United States of America and its School of Economics.
Ibn Khaldun's travels and experiences took him to many places, including Granada, Seville, Morocco, Mecca. Then he boarded a ship to Alexandria, and then to Cairo, that enchanting city with all its manifestations of civilization and urbanization. He described its impact on himself wonderfully. He said, "I saw the grandeur of the world, the garden of the universe, the gathering of nations, the throne of kings, and the illumination of scholars. It was as if the shore of the Nile was a river of paradise, and the flow of heavenly waters nourished them with abundance, and they thrived with fruits and blessings. I walked through the city's streets crowded with passers-by, and its markets were rich with blessings." Ibn Khaldun received the warmth and respect of the people of Cairo and its scholars. Students of knowledge gathered around him to benefit from his wisdom. Students of knowledge gathered around him to benefit from his wisdom. He established his school at Al-Azhar, where he met with his students, and many prominent scholars and figures learned from him, including Taqiyuddin al-Maqrizi and Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. He also received recognition and respect from the Sultan of Egypt, Al-Zahir Barquq, who appointed him to teach the Qasimiyya school and even trusted him with the position of chief judge.
Some of the survivors migrated to the farthest regions of Morocco. there wasn't anyone among them to receive knowledge from or follow up with him. And he was greatly saddened by their loss. Ibn Khaldun decided to pursue a career in public service and followed the path of his ancestors. He initially took a clerical position in the court of the Marinid dynasty, but found it unsatisfying. Later, he was appointed as a member of the scholarly council in Fez by Sultan Abu Inan, the ruler of the distant Maghreb region. This allowed him to resume his studies and engage with scholars and intellectuals who had migrated to Fez from regions like Tunisia, Andalusia, and Morocco.
Ibn Khaldun was immensely passionate about his gained knowledge that he wanted to give back and teach others. What's impressive is that he started teaching at the age of 14. Can you imagine that? Humble, intelligent, and with a fervent fire of desire to guide others to the path of knowledge. No wonder his title means the father of history in Arabic, as well as a source of inspiration to many other Muslim medieval philosophers, such as Al-Ghazali, Ibn Rushd, Ibn Sina, and Ibn Khaldun. One tidbit that caught my attention was that he led a shrewd life as a political statesman.
Ibn Khaldun was the first to focus on the study of social phenomena, laying the foundations of sociology. In his time, there was an interest in various sciences such as medicine, physics, astronomy, and philosophy. However, no one paid attention to the field of sociology, which explains societal phenomena and the individual's life within society and the mutual influence of both. Ibn Khaldun was a pioneer in his research, ahead of his time. His work influenced a significant number of sociologists who came after him, such as the Italian Vico, the German Lysing, and the French Voltaire. His ideas had also an impact on the famous French scholar Jean-Jacques Rousseau and the English scholar Malthus. Furthermore, Ibn Khaldun is considered a pioneer of the art of self-translation or autobiography. His book, The Autobiography of Ibn Khaldun and His Travels East and West, is among the primary sources for this art. Despite previous attempts at self-translation, he stands out as the first to write an extensive self-translation that delves into many details of his life, childhood, and youth, right up to his final days. In the realm of poetry, Ibn Khaldun composed poetry in his youth and continued to do so until he was over 50 years old. Afterward, he dedicated himself to scholarship and writing, rarely composing poetry. Ibn Khaldun made significant and distinctive contributions to the field of education, which was not recognized as an independent science in his time. One of his most important contributions was the idea that knowledge fundamentally divides into two categories: transmitted knowledge, naqli, and rational knowledge, aqli. He also emphasized the concept of progressive educational approach and its fundamentals. In addition, he contributed to the transition from sensory perceptions to concepts, culminating in what is known as abstractions.
Ibn Khaldun became widely renowned in his time, and his significant role in the advancement and prosperity of the Arab and Islamic world is evident. His life was filled with various works and contributions, making him one of the most important and famous historians who rose in the Islamic world. Ibn Khaldun's personality was one of the most distinguished and outstanding, as it encompassed all essential elements, both theoretical and practical, that made him a true historian with a remarkable intellect and viewpoint. He also had a significant influence on those who lived during his time. Ibn Khaldun conducted numerous studies and researches in which he explored historical facts and events, striving to achieve the highest levels of progress and prosperity for himself and his state. Furthermore, he presented valuable geographical research that extended from his hometown in Tunisia to the lands of the Levant. Ibn Khaldun is known for his groundbreaking introduction, which presents an analytical and encyclopedic work. His introduction shows how human societies have evolved, how they deal with social changes, and provides insights on the rise and fall of civilizations. Furthermore, he outlines the methods of treatment, especially since Ibn Khaldun articulated all his thoughts and most of his philosophy in this introduction. He introduced a new field of study in his time, which is now known as sociology.
He had a sharp intelligence and a sense of self-preservation. He gained favor where possible and changed allegiances when necessary. His career took him to governmental positions in Granada, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt. Though it nearly ended as quickly as it began when he was sentenced to a 22-month prison sentence, that's about 2 years, at the age of 25, for scheming against his employer, the Sultan of Tunisia. He was released with the next regime change, before again scheming against the new Sultan and rapidly escaping the Sultanate. All in all, his legacy is as eternal as his knowledge, in which we are forever in his debt and gratitude. Until next time, stay tuned for more information regarding such remarkable historical figures in the Arab world.
His first and perhaps most important book was called Al-Muqaddimah, or The Introduction. Some also refer to it as Ibn Khaldun's Prolegomena, a pioneering text that brought us historiography, sociology, demography, and economics. His book pointed out how to distinguish historical errors by highlighting the important role played by the state, communication, propaganda, and systematic bias. He stated that history is a philosophical science and that historians should refute myths. He introduced the concept of Asabiyya, translated as tribalism or clan. Asabiyya declines another more compelling Asabiyya may take its place. Thus civilizations rise and fall, and history describes these cycles of Asabiyya as they play out. If you know politics today, you know what he's talking about. It's going on everywhere, literally everywhere. He also wrote on economic and political theory. He elaborated on the division of labor, social cohesion, and economic growth. He noted that growth and development positively stimulate both supply and demand, and that the forces of supply and demand are what determine the prices of goods. Yeah, Ibn Khaldun, not Adam Smith, bro. He even introduced the concept about taxes, popularly known today as the Laffer curve. The book also discussed Islamic law and jurisprudence, biology, alchemy, and political theory. And you know what's crazy about all of this? He wrote this in just 6 months. 6 months! Honestly, it's taken me longer to make a video. And he meant for it to be the first chapter of his originally planned book. Imagine that! Man invented 150 things and considered it an introduction. Oh, and don't expect me to say the title of the original book. It's longer than his name. Noteworthy is that Ibn Khaldun's introduction is thought to be the foundation of social Darwinism, and has had a tremendous influence on many scholars across the world, including the famous Renaissance author, Niccolo Machiavelli. After he wrote the introduction, he used a trip to Mecca as an excuse to leave Tunis, and on his way he spent time in Alexandria, Egypt, which was a trip of a lifetime for Ibn Khaldun. Admired for his scholarly knowledge, Ibn Khaldun was made a professor at the Qamhaya Madrasa and a senior judge. Egypt was also much more politically stable than the raucous and shifty experiences he lived in Tunis, Morocco, and Spain. As a judge, he worked hard to reform Egypt's justice system. Unfortunately though, the death of his wife and children in 1384 cast a dark cloud over his life. Haunted by the pain, he quit the madrasa. But he wasn't done yet. By 1400, he had become so respected, he was asked by Egypt's Sultan to travel to Damascus, Syria, to be in charge of brokering a peace deal with Timur, the Mongol conqueror who was besieging the city. Ibn Khaldun stood tall in front of Timur, gained his respect by discussing the culture of North Africa and the Arab people. Timur was pleased by Ibn Khaldun, and even provided time for the people of Damascus to prepare for the siege of the city. A merciful act that spared many only through the wisdom, genius, political aptitude of the legend Ibn Khaldun. On March 1406, he passed away and was buried in Cairo. But his name, work, and character lived on. Well, until today.
With this introduction, he is considered to have preceded many modern thinkers in certain contemporary opinions and ideas. He's even regarded as the foundational figure of sociology in its classical form. Ibn Khaldun's introduction covered various subjects in 6 chapters. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll meet you in the next episode. Goodbye.